Welcome to HFY Stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Your one click means the world to me. The clay pot on her shelf was empty when the transmission came through, and Vesikara would spend years wondering if that was deliberate, an empire's fate arriving while she was watering nothing. She commanded the outpost cruiser where they'd caged the human. Four arms crossed, watching the arena feed, she already sensed she was witnessing something that would outlast her career, though she couldn't yet name what. Counselor Drex had wanted proof that mercy toward humans was wasted sentiment, so he'd ordered the prisoner fed to a Rex Stuth, one of 12 bioengineered horrors kept for executions meant to be remembered. Vesikara had argued against it quietly, the only way anyone argued with a counselor, and kept their rank. She'd read the woman's intake file 5 times. Former botanist, 47 kills after the glassing of Earth's farm colonies, everyone achieved with whatever was lying around. A 6th reading hadn't been necessary. Drex had sent the order anyway. The restraints are reading full power, Commander, Lieutenant Kraz said at her shoulder, young enough that uncertainty still showed in his hands. She shouldn't even be conscious. She isn't reacting to the restraints, Vesikara said. She's reacting to the room. Below, the Rextooth reared on 6 legs, its triple jaw working, black sensor eyes locked on the human called Maya Reeves. Maya didn't run. She dropped flat as it charged, let 700 kilos of claw sail over her, and hooked her legs around a rear limb on the way past. The creature slammed into the arena wall hard enough to crack reinforced plating. The chains snapped a moment later, restraint alloy rated to hold a war criminal torn like wet paper, and Vesikara felt the floor of her certainty shift an inch. What followed wasn't a fight so much as an accounting. Maya tore a forelimb free at the joint in a spray of green ichor and used it as a club, striking sensor clusters and joints with the precision of someone who'd studied the anatomy long before she needed to use it. When the Rextooth stopped moving, she stood over it breathing hard, hair matted with blood that wasn't hers, and looked straight into the camera. Too late, her translator offered, a beat behind her mouth. The lights failed. 3 seconds of dark, and when backup power caught, the command room door didn't open, it blew inward, and Maya Reeves walked through smoke carrying a plasma rifle taken from someone who no longer needed it. She stopped 10 feet out, close enough to be shot, far enough to make it interesting. 36 hours, she said, voice flat as a weather report. Begin withdrawing from human space. Every hour past that, one of your worlds gets what Earth got. One prisoner can't threaten an empire, Vesikara said, though she no longer believed it. One can't. Maya tapped her ear, where a device Vesikara hadn't clocked flickered faintly. 40,000 of us are sitting inside your supply chains right now. You've been arming us for months and calling it cheap labor. She backed toward the ruined doorway, mismatched eyes, one brown, one startling blue, holding Vesikara's a moment longer. Tell the counselor his demonstration worked. Then smoke, and she was gone. The council chamber was built to make visitors feel small, gravity tuned just heavy enough to remind everyone below the dais who they were. Vesikara had hated it for 40 cycles. She hated it more now, standing before 7 counselors while Drex dismissed her report as absurd. A gardener, he said, credited with breaching a maximum security facility and gutting a Rextooth with her hands. You're telling this council, Drex said, scales flushed pale with contempt, that our authority is threatened by a farmer. I'm telling this council we have 22 hours, Vesikara answered, to decide whether we believe her. The terminal chimed before Drex could respond. Fleet Admiral Corvin's face filled the screen, grey with something past exhaustion. 3 outer rim depots had suffered simultaneous fusion core failures, sabotage, using the Empire's own containment protocols as the weapon. 4,000 dead at each site. Every detonation preceded by the same recorded voice, counting down an hour they'd already lost. The chamber's arrogance didn't survive the second report, or the third. A shipyard seized at Tarlac Prime by maintenance crews who'd walked those halls for months without suspicion. A cell of 20 humans uncovered in the capital, embedded so deep that removing them risked collapsing half the grid. Drex stood, mouth working, and produced nothing. It was Crest, eldest of the counselors, who finally spoke. Commander, you've stood in front of this woman. Is retreat truly our best option, or only the frightened one? Vesikara thought of green blood pooling around a machine built never to lose. It's the option that leaves us alive to rebuild, she said. We can win this war eventually. We can't win it without burning everything we came here to take. That isn't strategy. That's just a slower way to lose. The vote passed 5-2, Drex's hand rising last, dragging like it weighed more than the moon it had never needed to conquer. 14 hours before the deadline, Vesikara opened a private channel and found Maya Reeves waiting on the other side, some stolen transport. Humans moving behind her with the unhurried calm of people who'd already won and were only waiting on the paperwork. The council voted to withdraw, Vesikara said. You'll have your worlds back. Maya didn't smile, just a small nod, tired all the way through. Thank you for arguing for it. How many operatives did you actually have? A pause, and something that might have been honesty rose behind her mismatched eyes. About 400, Commander. We made every one of them loud enough, visible enough, that you'd believe there were 100 times more. We didn't have an army. We had a room full of matches and a species that's very good at convincing people the fire is bigger than it is. Vesikara felt the floor tilt again, worse this time, not fear of the woman on the screen, but of everything the Empire had built on assumptions that had just come apart in a sentence. You bluffed an entire empire out of a war. Gambled. Maya leaned closer to the camera, and for the first time something raw showed under the calm, not triumph. Something closer to grief carried a long way. If your council had called it, 400 people were ready to burn everything they promised to burn, and neither of us would have come back from that math. I didn't want to win it that way. I wanted your counselors to be smart enough that I never had to prove I meant it. Her voice caught, just once, on the last word and steadied. You made that possible. Not every Talvoran wanted this. You didn't. Maybe when enough time has passed, we talk again, not like this, like equals. The signal cut before Vesikara found an answer worth sending back. 30 cycles later, the last cruiser lifted from Earth's atmosphere, and the humans watched it go with weapons lowered, but not put away. Historians would spend generations arguing over what to call the withdrawal, tactical repositioning, strategic recalibration, whatever softened the truth enough to survive an official record. Vesikara never used the softer words. She had stood in that command room. She knew exactly what it was. Months later, a small package reached her with no return address. A clay pot, packed with soil from a reclaimed field near the botanical station where Maya Reeves had once worked before an empire decided her planet was worth taking. No note. No explanation needed. Vesikara set it on the shelf above her bunk, watered it some evenings out of habit more than hope, and waited to see what, if anything, would choose to grow in ground an empire had once been certain it owned.